This is Martina from Sativa.
Hi, this is Melanie from Cytiva. We are both members of the ISA committees. Welcome to session 1.
Today, Melanie and I are going to talk about the revision of the ISA MedTech guidance document. The document is concerning the health rules and importation from third countries into the European Union of animal byproducts and derived products not intended for human consumption, and according to Regulation 1069 and 142. The guide was first published in 2013 and a minor revision was done in 2019. In the ISA regulatory team, we were working on a major revision, finally published in September 2021. The guidance document is intended to provide a step-by-step guide regarding the European animal byproducts regulatory framework for suppliers, manufacturers, importers, and other interested parties. The ISA regulatory team was working together with the Animal Byproducts Working Group at MedTech Europe on the revision of the guide. MedTech Europe is the European trade association for the medical technology industry, including diagnostics, medical devices, and digital health. It was formed by two organizations, ETMA, representing the European in vitro diagnostic industry, and EUCOMED, representing the European medical devices industry, in October 2012. The Animal Byproducts Working Group focuses on questions relevant mainly to the import of materials of animal byproducts and derived products, which ranges from the import of various serums to a number of purified proteins and antibody preparations of animal origin. The guidance document is built on requirements laid down in EU Regulations 1069 and 142. So it is applicable to EU member states, but not only. EU laws considered EEA relevant apply also in Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway. EEA is the abbreviation for the European Economic Area, which consists of the member states of the European Union and 3 countries of the European Free Trade Association, EFTA. So it's Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway. Countries in the EEA are allowed to be part of the EU's single market. Switzerland is not an EU or EEA member, but has signed agreements with the EU, including the recognition of the animal byproduct legal framework. Since the UK left the European Union, parts of the EU animal byproduct legislation are still retained in Great Britain, in England, Scotland, and Wales. Under the provisions of the Northern Ireland Protocol, movement of animal byproducts and derived products between EU member states to Northern Ireland remains unchanged. Other countries with special agreements are the Faroe Islands, Greenland, or San Marino. In the European Union, 2 types of laws are known, the primary and the secondary laws. Treaties are the starting point for EU law and are known as the primary law. Every action taken by the EU is founded on treaties that have been approved by its members. Treaties are binding agreements between EU member states, set out EU objectives, rules for EU institutions, how decisions are made, or the relationship between the EU and its members. Treaties are negotiated and agreed by all the EU countries and then ratified by their parliaments, sometimes following a referendum. The EU treaties have from time to time been amended to reform the EU institutions and to give it new areas of responsibility, or even to allow new EU countries to join the EU. The body of the law that comes from the principles and objectives of the treaties is known as the secondary law. The EU can pass laws only in those areas where its members have authorized it to do so via the EU treaties. The secondary law includes regulations, directives, decisions, recommendations, and opinions. The European secondary law. Regulations. Regulations apply automatically and uniformly to all EU countries as soon as they enter into force, without needing to be transposed into national law. They are binding in their entirety on all EU countries. Directives. Directives require EU countries to achieve a certain result, but leave them free to choose how to do so. EU countries must adopt measures to incorporate them into national law in order to achieve the objectives set by the directive. National authorities must communicate these measures to the European Commission. Decisions. Decisions shall be binding in its entirety. A decision which specifies those to whom it is addressed shall be binding only on them. Recommendations. Recommendations allow the EU institutions to make their views known and to suggest a line of action without imposing any legal obligation on those to whom it is addressed. They have no binding force. Opinions. Opinions allow the EU institutions to make a statement without imposing any legal obligation about the opinion. An opinion has no binding force. And with this, I'm handing over to Melanie.
You have heard about primary laws and secondary laws. Now let's move on to non-legislative acts. The first one is implementing acts. They are legally binding acts that enable the Commission, under the supervision of committees consisting of EU countries' representatives, to set conditions that ensure the EU laws are applied uniformly. The other one is delegated acts, which are legally binding acts that enable the Commission to supplement or amend non-essential parts of EU legislative acts, for example, in order to define detailed measures. Consolidation and codification. Consolidation is the unofficial simplification of a legal act incorporating its amendments. This document shows the legal rules that are applicable at a certain point in time. Codification is the process of bringing together a legal act, or several related acts, and all the amendments into a single new act through the full legislative process. Note, consolidation has no legal effect. Codification does have legal effect. This slide shows the decision tree. It has been modified and simplified in order to only show the applicable regulations and guidelines for animal byproducts and animal-derived products. Here are some examples. These and other examples can be found in the guidelines. Let's talk about TRACES now, or Trade Control and Export System, which was launched in March 2011. TRACES NT is a new electronic database, and it was implemented in 2020. TRACES is the European Commission's multi-online platform supporting the importations of animals, animal products, food and feed of non-animal origins and plants into the European Union, and the intra-EU trade and EU exports of animals and certain animal products. How the facilities are listed in TRACES and which section it's listed under is determined by how that facility is handling the animal-derived product or products. The EU requires both EU member states and third countries to list facilities approved or registered for the handling and manufacturing of animal byproducts and derived products. TRACES includes information regarding the material and the approval type of the facilities. Any facility exporting animal byproducts and derived products to the EU must be an approved establishment and listed in TRACES. Thank you for joining us for the review of the concerns regarding health rules and importations into the EU for animal byproducts and animal-derived products. There is more to come in session 2.
In session 2, Melanie and I will talk about terms and definitions given in the guidance document and changes we have made to it. You will hear about finished products and the obstacles following Article 52. We will talk about GBR replacement by OIE BSE risk classification, and we will also talk about transit and transshipment. Finally, we will give you an overview about the changes in the EU legislation that we considered in the revision of the guidance document. So, thank you for joining us today. We would love to hear your feedback and all the questions you may have. We will try to answer your questions as best as we can. Thank you.